Hi, and welcome back. In this video, we are going to be creating a hero image for our website. So I have downloaded this image off of Unsplash. It's some geese swimming in the water, and first thing I need to do is size this for the web. So I'm going to do some of the same things I've done in the previous video, and that would be to check the color space and then adjust the sizing of the image. So this image is currently RGB color, which is what we want. And then I need to check the image size. So currently the resolution is at 72, which is what I want. However, this image is really, really large. It is 7,900 pixels. That's too big. But I want to also, because I want this to be a hero, I don't want this to be this tall. I want to be mindful of my first fold within my website, where everything is going to start landing. I don't want to just obliterate that and have the entire first fold of the site be this picture. So I'm going to crop it to be a little shorter, but preserving the width. So in order to do that, I'm going to open up my layers panel. I'm going to unlock that layer so this image is untethered from the artboard. And then I'm going to go to image and then canvas size. And I'm going to adjust this canvas size. I'm going to make sure it's set to pixels, not to inches. I'm going to make it 1800 pixels by 600. 1800 will give me plenty of width for even some of the largest monitors. And then this is going to shrink it to 600. And I'm going to click OK. It's going to say this canvas is smaller, and it's going to clip into that picture. I'm going to say that's OK because I've untethered this. If I had not, it would shrink that image. So now I can transform this and make the image smaller. So I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, Free Transform, holding down Shift to constrain proportions, depending on your version of Photoshop. I'm going to zoom in so I can see what I've changed here. And you can see that this image is not nearly as tall. This is looking a lot more like I want it to. So now I can use my designer's eye to adjust the crop of this image to make it something that's still interesting. I obviously am going to be losing some of the original picture, but that is a lot more like what I want. So I can adjust. I want the one goose to show. I don't need both geese to show, so I might slide that up just a little bit. I also want the name of the restaurant to appear here in my masthead, so into this negative space. However, I want that to be on the left side as opposed to the right side, because in website design, people read from that top left corner down. They kind of read in an F shape. So I would like my text to be here and the goose to be on the right. So I'm going to flip this image. So I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, Flip Horizontal, and that flipped that image. So now I have negative space here on the left. I have the goose, so my text will go here, my goose will be on the right. So that being edited the way I want it, I'm going to go ahead and save this as a JPEG. So I'm going to go to File, Save a Copy. And I'm going to save this as a JPEG. And I'm going to drop the file size down to being about 8. So it's still a high quality image, but I'm going to drop that loading just a little bit further. I'm going to hit OK. Now I'm going to jump over into my site code and place this background image. All right, now that I'm in my code, I'm going to put my hero in above this area. So I will have a hero graphic here, and then the words Black Goose Bistro are going to go up into that hero. So I need to find that area within my my site copy or my site code here. So after the body tag, I'm going to create a new div tag. And what's going to be different about this that I haven't done in previous videos is I'm going to assign an ID to this. And that means whenever I assign an ID to something, that gives me a unique identifier that I can call for in my CSS that will not apply to other things. So because I want it to apply to the div element, but I don't want it to apply to the div element below it, I'm going to give this an ID of hero because this is going to be my hero graphic. And then I'm going to bring in this H1 style tag. I'm going to cut that out of here and I'm going to place it into my hero div. So I've got Black Goose Bistro popping up here. So in this hero graphic, I want to make that image, that goose image, a background image. If I set it as a background image, I can run text over top of it. If I just place it as an image, I can't necessarily get text on top of it. That's not the best way to do it because they will fight each other. The text will end up going below the image. So because I want it to be an image in the background and text on top, I need to set it up in that way. So let's go ahead and place into our CSS our background image. So in my CSS, I'm going to just create a new ID or a new tag element. Create a new CSS element. So to call for my ID, I need the little hashtag, and then I'm going to type in hero. So that's going to call for that ID. It matters, these have to match. You can name anything in an ID, but they just have to match. So this is saying find an ID of hero. And then I'm going to start working in there. So I'm going to type in background. Image. And then I'm going to look for, I need to find my URL. And then I'm going to look in my images folder and find that Black Goose hero. And there it is. So it's there, but it's getting cut off. So now we need to do some styling to that because by default, this div is only as big as the font. So we're going to need to do a little bit extra with that. So some of the additional styling I need to do to this background image is to set the width to being 100%. I'm going to set the height to auto. I'm going to set the background position to being center. This will center that image within the space that it's given. You can set a background position to be left or right, so then it will size from either the left or the right or the center. I'm going to set the background repeat to no repeat. So if this happens to size too far beyond, it's not going to repeat and start to tile. And then I'm going to set the background size to being cover. And then I need to set the position of this to relative. I'm going to set the margin to being 0 pixels. Then I'm going to set some padding to be 50 pixels on the top and bottom, and then 0 pixels on the right and left. And what that's given me is because I've set some of these things where this is centered on there, it's not going to repeat. The height is going to, some of this, the width of 100% and the height of auto will make this image responsive. These allow the image to not repeat if it gets too large. The position is going to be centered. And then the margin and padding allow for the sizing, so I'm getting an additional padding on the top and bottom of that text. So let's take a look at what that hero looks like now as we move it around. And you can see that that image is responding correctly. It is not shrinking into the image or cutting into the image as I make it smaller. So there was a lot to writing in there. Again, adding some of the width and the height, make this a responsive image, centering, and the no repeat, and the setting the background size to be a cover position. the size to be cover allows this to display correctly and scale the way we want it to. You can set the padding. If you wanted the image to be taller, you can always make it a little bit bigger and test that out. That's going to make that image a little bit taller. But what is important is that this is responding as this goes. So the last thing we're going to do on styling this hero image is I want to adjust this text. So right now my H1 is black, it's centered, and because of that it's going over my goose. This is becoming very hard to read. I've got black text over some black background or black background element. So I want to style this text, but only this H1 text and not my H1 text that is down here. So to do that, I'm going to create an ID for this, much like I did for my hero graphic. So I'm going to navigate to my H1 that says Black Goose Bistro, and I'm going to create an ID of, and I'm going to call it hero underscore text. And so then I need to come up to my CSS and I need to write a rule for this hero text. So because it's an ID, I need to call it out with the little hashtag or pound sign and say hero underscore text. It needs to be the exact same way that I called it in the ID. These two things have to match or it will not work. Do my squiggly braces, open that up, and then I'm going to type in the rule of text align, and then I'm going to say left, because I want to pull that over into this negative space on that image so it gives better readability because it's not going over top of this bird at most sizes. And then put my semicolon, and then I want to change the color of it too. So I'm going to set the color to being white smoke, which is a little bit of off-white. I don't want a bright pure white because I'm trying to match this white more to the white of the birds. A pure white would be just a little too stark. It's just a slightly softer white, and that looks really nice. So that matches that image, and I can make this readable. So why don't we put in a little bit of a descriptor about the restaurant, and we can add an ID to that as well. So I'm going to write in an H2, and I'm going to write in fine dining. And then I also want to create an ID for that, and I'm going to call it hero underscore subhead. And then I can create a rule for that as well. So I'm going to type in hero subhead, and then I'm going to grab this same here, copy, paste that in. There we go. And now that matches where I've got an H1 and an H2 that are set for their own styles using an ID element and calling that with the CSS. So now I've got a nice mobile responsive hero graphic that matches the rest of my site. Now, much prettier intro to my web page. So thank you for watching this video, and I will see you guys on the next one.